Venezuela is a country full of culture and unparalleled idiosyncrasy, admired not only by its people but also by everyone who visits it. This is how it becomes one of the favorite destinations for locals and foreigners alike, leaving an indelible impression that lasts over time.
In Puerto Cabello, a cordial city of Venezuela, little piece of heaven, and of great historical value, stands a fortress called Fortín Solano, a true architectural jewel encapsulated in time, dating back from the 18th century, witness of innumerable gallant actions, and by its ancient walls, the echo of the past can be felt. From its privileged position, there is a breathtaking view of the Caribbean Sea. Being at the foot of a charming town, the dream of any photographer. El Fortín manifests a rich historical, architectural, and cultural tapestry of Venezuela. It is connecting with history in an educational and deeply inspiring way.
Fortín Solano is located in el Parque Nacional San Esteban, which is founded on January 14, 1987. It covers 4 municipalities of the state of Carabobo, which are San Diego, Guacara, Naguanagua, and culminates in the little piece of heaven known as Puerto Cabello. It is worth mentioning that it was built 253 years ago, located 500 meters above sea level, specifically on El Vigía Hill in Puerto Cabello, Carabobo State. Before the fort was built, the hill, approximately 500 meters high, was the base on which a naval battery was installed to repel fierce attacks by the British fleet of the Commodore Charles Knowles in 1743.
The main purpose of this structure was to provide protection to the Costa Porteña from possible attacks by pirate ships. It is important to point out that during colonial times, ships were approaching the port to steal merchandise, such as cocoa, salt, among others. Thanks to the Capitan General, Don José Solano y Bote, who ordered the construction of this fortification in 1766, and 5 years later in 1771, it was completed.
It is worth mentioning that this building was the last Spanish infrastructure to be built in Venezuela. Its name comes from José Solano, and it was designed by the Spanish Count Miguel Roncalli. Fortín has been protagonist in different events in Venezuela. One of the most significant was the naval blockade of the main ports such as La Guaira, Guanta, and Puerto Cabello.
For the construction of the fortress, it was located in a strategic place, offering a clear view of the cardinal points of all Puerto Cabello, which made it an excellent observation position. The labor used for the construction included slave and prisoners from La Guaira, as well as convicts from El Castillo San Felipe. It is currently one of the most important historical tourist sites in Puerto Cabello, which has a guide who tours the walls and tells every detail and information about his history and architecture. Some of the myths that are told about this place is that the walls of the torture area were built with bones of prisoners. as they were demolished and used to mix them with water and sand, and thus creating a type of cement.
It is also rumored that a nun used to go upstairs to do charity work, only to be abused. And at night, it is heard the recitation of the Lord's Prayer in Latin, as well as the sound of the chains being dragged.
Like all military infrastructure, El Fortín had an artillery zone, where two small cannons were located, and the most powerful 175mm cannon, known as El Burro Negro, currently located at El Fuerte Tiuna, Caracas, Capital District, which at the time was nicknamed El Abortador, because its roar was so loud that those women who were pregnant close to the hill, El Vigía, suffered immediate abortion.
At the time, El Castillo San Felipe, also known as Castillo Libertador, was located below sea level. El Fortín warned the castle by means of the detonation of the cannon as a warning of approaching enemy ships. That is why the cannon used an acoustic buzz, which gave it an increase to the cannon's roar. In this way, the detonation could be heard at the castle. That is to say, it warned of the arrival of enemy ships, allowing the castle to counteract the attacks in time because it was closer to the coast. These were the strategies used at that time. Those soldiers or sentries also used the sentry boxes. In these towers stood a sentinel who warned, "Ship inside," so that the artillerymen could detonate the cannon. To make sure that they really heard it, they had a signal. If it was daytime, they waved a flag. And if it was nighttime, they used 2 torches. In the case of not being heard and not seeing the signal with the flag, a new explosion occurred.
This place has undergone restorations over the years, but the only thing missing now is the cannon, so that it can look like the original artillery area. The cannon was taken to the Fuerte Tiuna for safekeeping after the naval blockade in 1906. As a method of torture, El Fortín had a cistern, which was a well with no water outlet, and connected to one of the veins of El Río San Esteban, which was filled, and then prisoners were thrown in shackles, who due to the weight could not swim and got drowned.
It is also important to highlight their dungeons. The smaller one housed 35 to 40 prisoners, with a sand floor and rustic walls. Their food was garbage thrown by the soldiers, and for hydration they drank from puddles that formed on the floor when the soldiers threw buckets of water at them. To make their physiological needs, they dug holes in the ground to use them as latrines. In this same function, there is a small window from which fresh air comes out, being the only place in the dungeon where the prisoners could inhale fresh air. This led them to fight for the place. Besides, in this place they slept, ate, and lived, while the larger one housed 60 to 70 prisoners. It is currently closed.
In the walls of the artillery area, there are some holes, which are cannonballs, impacts caused by an event in Puerto Cabello, known as the naval blockade in 1902, due to the debt that our country had with Europeans. This debt was established in a total of 350 million bolivars, since these countries invested in railroads, some of which are still in existence today. European countries such as Germany, England, France, Italy, Holland, Belgium, among others, blocked the three most important ports of the country, in this case Guanta, La Guaira, and Puerto Cabello. At that time, Venezuela was governed by Cipriano Castro. No goods were coming in or out. 2 German ships and an equal number of English ships blockaded the coast of Puerto Cabello. One of the soldiers in charge of operating the cannon decided to fire with the intention of scaring away those vessels that were anchored off the coast. However, they played with fire and it backfired on them. The crew members of the vessels decided to fire back because they assumed it was an attack on their ships. And this is how Fortín Solano was affected. And the cannons located in the artillery area were dismantled.
Thanks to the United States of America, which was the mediator, it was possible to reduce the debt to 50 million bolivars, which they had to pay for 1 year, but with 30% of the merchandise that was entered customs, being able to pay it at that time.
En 1962, el Fortín también fue protagonista cuando el porteñazo. El 2 de junio de 1962, el porteñazo fue en contra del gobierno de Rómulo Betancourt. Fue una sublevación militar o un alzamiento cívico-militar. Militares y civiles no estaban de acuerdo con el pacto de punto fijo. Recordemos que el pacto de punto fijo era simplemente mandar 5 años AD, 5 años COPEI, prácticamente vienen siendo los mismos partidos. Algunos militares, específicamente 3 capitanes de navío, fragata y corbeta, Manuel Ponte Rodríguez, Víctor Hugo Morales y Pedro Medina Silva, ellos deciden tomar un destructor. Un destructor es un pequeño barco de la marina, tipo fragata, tipo tango, y deciden anclarse en la costa de Puerto Cabello y amenazan la base naval de acá del municipio, que si los comandantes que estaban comandando el lugar no entregaban toda la base, ellos iban a decidir destruirla. Entonces, ¿qué más quedó? Entregar a la base naval. Todos los pelotones o todos los militares que estaban allí quedan bajo el mando de esos capitanes ya nombrados, que fueron influenciados por cubanos. Deciden hacer todo este alzamiento cívico, originando un desastre completamente en el municipio, 700 heridos, 400 decesos, exactamente, es las cifras conseguidas por internet, pero algunos libros vivientes que han venido a visitar nuestro municipio y nuestro Fortín Solano, ellos dicen que la cifra pudo haber sido hasta más de 1.200 muertos, ya que en el lugar, acá en Puerto Cabello, cuando estaban edificando algunas construcciones, consiguieron algunas fosas comunes, tanto a orillas de playas y por acá cerca del Fortín Solano, específicamente donde se encuentra actualmente el mercado municipal.
There is a very relevant photo of this incident, the one of the priest Luis María Padilla holding a soldier. This photo was the winner of the Pulitzer Prize, awarded to the photographer Héctor Rondón Lovera, who the following year received the award in the United States of America. He is the only Venezuelan photographer who won such a prestigious award.
The last restoration of El Fortín Solano was in 2012, thanks to the efforts of Mayor Rafael Lacaba, currently the governor of Carabobo State. He recovered the fortress to turn it into a tourist area, as it had been in total neglect since 1936, until the initiative was taken in 2012 to remodel it extensively On October 10th of that same year, minor renovations of 30% were carried out on the fortress, which included replacing some railings that were in poor condition due to soil damage for the safety of visitors. Likewise, the flagpoles of the national, state, and municipal flags were restored. The area of the former dungeons was also remodeled and is now considered the museum area, which has been improved by installing electricity for better visitor observation and air conditioning for greater comfort.
Fortín Solano is more than a mere collection of walls and cannons. It is a living testimony of our history, a place where we can connect with our roots and feel proud of our past. A visit to it is a journey through time that invites us to reflect on who we are and whence we came.
The silence of these walls is shouting its history.